Hello and welcome. I'm back on the plot today and I'm going to try and cover this brassica cage with netting. Well, the greenhouse frame, which will be a brassica cage. I'm not looking forward to this job at all. It's actually really windy as well, which doesn't help. And I'm a bit short, so I'm going to have a little bit of trouble. But I'll set you guys up on a time lapse. Fingers crossed everything will go okay. And if it doesn't, well, I'll just stop the time lapse and go home and cry. So let's get going. The sides are now cable tied in. I just wanted to show you that I've put the bottom on 2 bricks, this side and that side, just so that I can wrap, just so I got a bit of leeway off the floor, so I can wrap the netting under and then cable tie it. I've got the longest cable ties I could find, but I think I'm still going to need to join these together because I don't think they'll go around the length of the frame. I also have a slight problem at the back here because I don't think that's long enough to actually attach to the bottom without it being sort of like an inch too short. You can see there, and I don't want to really pull it down because then I'm putting an awful lot of tension on here, which in time will just cause the netting to break. So I'm hoping that I can ruche up. You can see the excess there and the excess that side. If I can ruche it all up into the middle and somehow connect it. But failing that, I can just attach a small piece of netting this side, so it goes all the way down there, so the butterflies can't get in this side. But so far so good. So I'll get on now and do these little bits and I'll show you what I've got when I'm done. Here it is, all finished. Oh, I'm glad to have got that job done. It took me so much longer than I thought it would. But let me bring you in for a closer look because there is still a few things I need to niggly things I need to work out. But we're there enough so I can plant it up. So the front and back is all good now. I've connected the bottom to the frame and it goes around like that all the way around, apart from this side because it's got the sliding door. So to counteract it this side, I've put the excess net in there and I've pinned it in, and what I'll do is I will get another bag of bark and I'll just go around the outside and I'll bark all around the frame so there's no chance the butterflies can sneak in anywhere else. Again, this back bit was a little bit of trouble because there wasn't that much excess there, and you can see I do need to get another cable tie to put under there and attach it all the way under, but I think it's only that area there that needs that doing. The rest of it is looking pretty secure because it had the length that it needs to go right the way down to the ground. And then this front bit is the only sort of bits that I put in bits at a time because, as you saw from the time lapse, all of this netting is all one part apart from the front. And I do need to get some more cable ties to just cable tie every now and again, because I feel like that, well, that won't, I can't see a butterfly getting in there, but I better be safe than sorry, hadn't I, and just cable tie it a bit more in between the cable ties I've already done. And then if I show you the outside bit, it's just this one bit here really that got this little bit of a gap there. I just need to cable tie that across to there, and then that'll stop any butterflies from getting in. So that hopefully is now all done. I've put the cardboard down in place and I've thoroughly soaked it. So now it's time to get the compost into these beds at last. Well, I've got to pop home, fill some more compost bags and bring them down. So I'll do that and I'll catch you back here in a minute. Well, I've done it. I've got the beds filled up. How I did it was I put the cardboard down and then I covered the cardboard in about 3 inches of compost all the way around. And then I gave it a dusting of lime and a dusting of bloodfish and bone. And then I covered the rest of the compost up to the tops of the bed. And now we are ready to plant into it. So I did say I'd do a little jig, but I'm not quite finished, am I? I'll get it planted and then I'll do my little jig that this project is finally done. I've got a good amount of brassicas to go in here. I've got some kale, kohlrabi and pak choi to go in. And then I've got some more cauliflowers, some swede and some wongbak to go in as well. I don't think it'll all fit in here. Some will probably need to go in the bed next door, which is not filled yet. But let me get the ones in that I want to get planted and then we'll see where we are with the other bed. This side here I'm going to plant up with the kale, and I'll probably plant the pak choi the opposite side, and then all the plants that will kind of grow by themselves essentially, you know, that don't need picking. Like the kale will need harvesting every now and again, so I want it to be easy to get to. Whereas the swede and collies, which will just be harvested, you know, when they come to their final growth, I want them to be at the back where I don't need to fuss with them very much. So that was my thinking anyway, because I might use the pak choi as a cut and come again rather than leave it grow. Or if I've got 2 rows in, I might pick this one here as a cut and come again and this one here as a cut and come again, but leave those 2 there to like come to fruition, as it were. But I don't know. Let's get this kale in anyway. The plug plants are not coming out very easy. I didn't realise they were sitting in as much water as they were. So, because they're a bit waterlogged, it's not really sticking very well. I shall limit my expectations on how well these do, because where I've just put this compost in the bed is quite soft, and brassicas do prefer quite a compact's the wrong word, but a sort of a bed that's quite firm then. So I don't know how these will do, but we'll only find out if I plant them, won't we? So maybe I think they'll probably be better in your next year when the bed has had a bit more time to sort of come to its natural structure, as it were. Because I've only just put the compost in here, so it's going to be a bit light and friable. I got a asparagus growing in here. I'll take that home and pot that up. You can join the other asparagus. So that's the pak choi and the kale in. I'll get on and plant the swedes and the collies now, and I'll show you what I've got when I'm done. Here we are, all planted up. Got the 6 kale here, and then we've got 8 swedes this side. Then I've got 5 cauliflower. The variety is igloo, which is a small variety. Otherwise, I probably would have just put 3 in the middle because they are quite close space-wise. And then I've got the other 8 swede this side. And then those pak choi there. So I tried to space them as close together, but as far apart as I dare do. I probably have put them a little bit too close together, in all honesty. But who doesn't do that? Who doesn't do that? I tell you who, someone with loads and loads of beds that they can plant into. That's who. Well, that's not the case here. So I've crammed them in, but I've tried to leave them with a little bit of space too. Let's see how they do. So I've just given that a thorough water. I must have been watering it for about 10 minutes in total because that compost was really aquaphobic, but now it's got loads of compost. I did a couple of rooting around in different parts of the bed, and you know, I dug up a bit, and there's loads and loads of water in those beds now. So fingers crossed they should be fine for the next few days. And the brassicas should grow really well in there. So I did say I'd do a little jig when this job was done. So here goes. Okay, that's enough of that. Let me show you how my squashes have turned out because it's time to harvest them now. So in this compost bay here, I was growing Crown Prince. So I filled it up with fresh manure, horse manure, and I planted some Crown Prince squash plants, 2 Crown Prince squash plants in here. And I have got 2 Crown Prince squashes back in return. So I'm very pleased about that. One is here and one is just below the pile of wood down there. So we did have something for our trouble, and we'll enjoy eating these Crown Prince squashes. And here are my other squash plants. This variety here is Robin's Koginut squash, and it's done really well for me. There are bits of squash like everywhere you look really in this bed. It's it grew up well as well along the climbing trellis I put in. And then if I come back a little bit more, this variety that I grew up here is Tetra squash, and that was like a dual purpose one where you can harvest it with young fruits, so they would be more like a courgette type of affair, or you can leave them and they become sort of like ridged yellow and green honey nut boat kind of variety. But sadly, I did have a butternut squash in here and we haven't got any butternut squash. And I did have cucumbers this side and cucumbers that side, and no cucumbers really came through. We might have had a harvest of 2 or 3, but we didn't have a great amount. And I think probably because I had the ones growing at home in the greenhouse, the Telegraph, I probably wasn't that bothered about these ones anyway. So I might have been a bit more, you know, diligent with these ones if I didn't have the ones in the greenhouse. So that's probably my fault really for not looking after the plants well enough. But in saying that, I did do the same with the squash as I did with the cucumbers. So whenever the cucumbers got watered, the squash got watered and vice versa. The squashes have done really well in comparison. So maybe the squashes were taking more of the energy out of the soil, out of the compost. So that's something to think about for next year. If I grow outdoor cucumbers, then maybe not growing them with squashes. I'll get on now and harvest the squashes that are here, and I'll hopefully take the foliage away, and then I'll show you the harvest of these squashes and the crown prince. Here is my final harvest from the squashes down the allotment. I'm really pleased with what we've got here. The crown princes are not as big as I've grown in the past, and I think that's probably, again, where I just haven't watered enough. I just should have watered that compost heap a bit more, but there we go. It is what it is. We have got something, so I'm pleased with that. I do have a couple more pumpkins growing at home. One of them is particularly big. Let me take you home and show you the pumpkins in my front garden. As promised, I will show you this massive pumpkin I've been growing at home. Oh, hang on. I think I was showing you the wrong one. That's not a massive pumpkin. That's a massive pumpkin. Let me grab a milk bottle to give you. So I'll pop that there. So just to give you a size comparison, that pumpkin is massive. I have no idea what I'm going to do with that huge pumpkin. There's far too much on it for us. I don't even think anyone I know eats pumpkin or wants it either, because I could cut it into segments and give it away, you know, but I don't know if anybody wants that much pumpkin. Oh, I'll have to think of something to do with it, won't I? It'll be too big a waste if I carve it. But what I'll do now is I'll clear away all this foliage, harvest these 2 pumpkins that are here, put the other squashes with them along this pavement here, just so they can cure for the next few days. We're not meant to have any rain, I don't think, so they should be nicely curing in the sun in this front garden, because it gets the sun almost all of the day. So I'll get all this cleared away and then we can see exactly how big this pumpkin is. So here is the squash and pumpkin harvest for this year. Now that I've put them all together, I hope you can see how big this pumpkin is. I think it is Atlantic Giant. I had 2 pumpkin varieties growing in that bed. One was Atlantic Giant and one was Big Max. I think this one is Big Max, which has not lived up to its name. This one is Atlantic Giant, which has excelled itself. And then we have the other ones from the allotment. I've put them next to the potato bed, which I totally forgot I needed to harvest, but I haven't got through the other potatoes I harvested a couple of weeks ago yet, so they can stay in for a little bit longer. I'm now going to plant up the bed that I just took the pumpkins out of. I've put some mizuna and chicory, I think it is, in there because I thought it would be pretty. But I'm not planning to keep these two beds here. I want to take them out, and I'm going to put a sort of small seating area in this place, and possibly, if I've got enough money, I might invest in a couple of grow towers, some green stalks, something along that line. So that is the plan for this area. So with that bed, I would normally put a fresh layer of compost on top, but I'm not going to do that. I've just put some fish blood and bone as a top dress and like sprinkled it in, as it were. And when I plant the plants, I shall just put a small sprinkling in the planting pocket of those plants. So I'm just going to scatter a little bit of fish blood and bone in the planting pocket and then just pop the plants in. I reckon these plants will probably be done by about November time, which is when I was thinking of doing the renovations to this area. It all depends on when the allotment infrastructure is done, because once that's done, I can turn my attention to the things around the home garden. But I would like to get the beds done down the allotment before I do things here. Well, that's this bed all planted up now. It'll have most of October and November to really bed in. Like I say, it might not stay here throughout the winter, but then again, it might stay here throughout the winter, depending on when I get round to sorting it out. I have in here all the spoils from the pumpkins that were here. So I've chopped them all up really small. Well, not really, really small, but you know, as small as I can with my shears. And I'm going to add them to my hopping composter. So let me go around the back and show you how much the hopping composter has sunk since I filled it up last week with the long clippings. So it has sunk by about half the amount that was in here last week. So hopefully it is decomposing nicely at the bottom. I'm just going to add these to the compost to hopefully get it going again. I'll just pop in the house and shred some paper to put on the top, but it's about 3/4 full now. Now I've got all those pumpkin and squashes outside for this year, I'd better use up the last of last year's pumpkin, which has been in my freezer, with the idea of using it up in tray bakes. But because we've had so much produce this summer, I haven't got around to doing it. So I'm going to do a nice pumpkin wrap or flatbread for our lunch. So I'm going to start by roasting this pumpkin. So I'm going to roast this pumpkin by putting it in a roasting tray with some oil, some garlic cloves and some thyme, and leave it in the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes until it's slightly got a little bit of crispy colour on it, and then we'll do the rest. And while the pumpkin is roasting, let's go in the garden and get a few more jobs ticked off the list. Just giving this a little bit of a weed, and I thought the 2 cauliflowers that I didn't plant out down the allotment earlier, I'll put in this bed here and hopefully they'll be okay. I've not seen any cabbage whites around, so fingers crossed. So I just fish blood and bone and lime the bed. Again, I need to give this a thorough water, but at least I found a home for them. I've also got some cabbages to put in the next bed down. I'm just working in the lime and the fish blood and bone. And I've had good luck with my brassicas, you know, sowing for the winter, but my lettuce has been atrocious. I've had hardly any luck with my lettuce seeds, and they are fresh seeds as well. Some are 2 years old, but I would expect, you know, lettuce seeds to be okay for that. So I don't know what to say about that. Has anyone else had any trouble with their lettuce? So these cabbages, wongback, they're very susceptible to being eaten by slugs. But I just want to get a couple in. Hopefully these will last a bit longer in these plug plants, and I can put them into that bed next to the brassica cage down the allotment. But I'll get a couple in here, just, you know, so we've got some growing somewhere. And I'll just have to keep a check on them every few days to make sure that no caterpillars have laid eggs on them. But I think it's more slugs and snails I need to worry about with these, because they do get eaten quite easy. I've tried growing them in the past and I didn't have much luck, but maybe this year will be a very better time for them. I grew them in the spring last time, maybe winter will be better. Well, that's those three in. I'll give this a thorough water as well, and then we'll find something else to do. Well, that's them all thoroughly watered in now. This compost should now be very wet, which is great. Let's go in the back garden, because I've got one lone little lettuce here that I need to pop into a tub. A couple of weeks ago, I potted on my kale and those pak choi and everything I showed you earlier. And I had some left over. I had some kale left over. I had some corn salad. And I had something else. I think another type of lettuce. And I potted on as many as I wanted to go in the beds. And then the rest of them, I thought, well, I'll give a chance and I'll put in here. And you can see the only one really that survived is this one kale plant. I'm not sure if this side are the corn salad or whether there's some other kind of weed that has grown in here. But I'm going to leave them in there for the time being in case they are the corn salad. But everything in here has got eaten and everything in here has got eaten. But I thought I'd put the lettuce in here, and I've got a terrible, terrible germination of spring onions here. I sowed these beginning of August and that's all that's come up. I don't know why. I think it must be the compost, because if my lettuce seedlings didn't come up and those didn't come up, then surely it's got to be the compost and not the seed. And also, I'm sorry if I'm squinting, but I'm looking directly into the sun. So because I'd grown these as I put about 8 in each cell tray to grow as a bunch of 8. And because they haven't come up, I'm just going to put all of them together, really. I can't see any other way to do it. That's my timer gone off. Let's go and check on how that pumpkin's getting on. I only put it on for 20 minutes because I wanted to go in and shake the tray to make sure it was all covered with the oil. So let's go and see how that's progressing. Oh yes, these are almost ready. They won't need much longer. So we'll give those a little bit longer And what I'll do is I'll plant some of the mizuna I've got left over and one of the radicchio in here. So I'll go for the radicchio in the middle. And then mustard around the outside. Oh, actually, I'll put in 4 mustard, because then there'll be like 4 flanking the radicchio, won't it? I have already amended the soil when I first put the kale and other plants in here, so I don't need to add any more nutrients to this compost. Right, I'll just get the last one. There we go. Right, let's go inside and get prepped for when the pumpkin is ready, so I can get the flatbreads and everything sorted out. In the time it has taken me to come in and bring all the stuff in and get all the stuff ready, the pumpkin is done. So I've just left it out there to cool for a minute in its tray, and I'll bring it in a sec once I've done all this. So I bought some fold over wraps earlier, or flatbreads they are, but you can use a wrap if a wrap is what you've got. And I'm going to put some soft cream cheese on each wrap. I'm going to make mine and my mum's a bit different, because my mum is here at the moment and she won't like hers as hot as I like mine. And she also likes blue cheese, but I don't like blue cheese. So onto mine, I'm going to put some sriracha. And on my mum's, I'm going to put some hot honey. Put over there for a minute. Then I'm going to chop up some spring onions. And then I'm going to sprinkle them on each side. Well, one side of the flatbread, I should say. I've also got some coriander. So I'll just cut that up. And I'll do the same. I'll sprinkle that too. Right. Oh, I've forgotten rocket. Bear with. So I've got a handful of rocket and I brought in the pumpkin. Now for the cheese. Cheddar on mine. Stinky, horrible blue cheese on my mum's. It'll be interesting to see what my mum thinks of this, because she doesn't sort of eat pumpkin in this way. She usually has hers in soup. So it'll be interesting to see what she makes of it as a sandwich, you know, the central thing of the sandwich. Ingredient of the sandwich, that's the word, isn't it? The central ingredient of the sandwich. And then take a little bit, and I want to squash it down a bit so we can actually fold it over. You know, fold the actual thing over, I mean. Get a bit of the roasted garlic in there as well. Spread that around. And another one. There's my mum's. And here's mine. I can see I'm going to have some cooked squash left over, which just means I'll have to have this again tomorrow, won't I? Which would be a shame not. If you roast garlic in this way, it goes all soft and quite sort of puree-ish. And there's mine. Now, I better go and find my mum and see if she's ready to try this. And here she is, back by popular demand, my mum.
Hello.
So, you're going to join me with this taste test today, aren't you, Mum?
Yes, I am going to be a guinea pig once again, and hopefully it'll be a success like it was last time.
Well, let's hope so. Otherwise, I'll have to scrap this whole section. Right, you ready?
Okay, yes. Thank you very much. Thank God for my food, and once again, here it comes. Well, I'm sorry I'm very quiet about it, but I'm quite pleasantly surprised at the taste of it. Very nice. Well, it's unusual, Bethan. I've never eaten some cheese I can detect.
Yeah, I put in goat's cheese for you. Or, you know, your seen to good cheese. Other varieties are available.
Yes.
But maybe the more you eat, you'll get different flavours of things. But it is lovely. It's
lovely.
The first bite I had was mostly pumpkin, so I'm going for a second one now and get more flavour.
I'm going for a second one as well, and maybe a third.
The flavours of the coriander really blend well, and the spring onion gives it a really nice freshness. And there's like a cheeky little bit of chilli in mine. I didn't put chilli in yours.
No,
I put hot honey in yours.
That's what the sweetness is.
Yeah, you got hot honey in it.
Yes, I can detect the sweetness at the back of my tongue after I've eaten, chewed it and swallowed.
Yeah.
Very nice, Bethan. Very nice indeed.
You'd have one again?
I would indeed, yes, I would. Yes.
That's good, because we've got a lot of pumpkin to eat through.
Yes, and we showed him the giant pumpkin.
Yes, it featured earlier.
Right. Well, and yet again, another success. Lovely job.
Oh, well, thank you for joining. And all I can say about this week is, as my mum just said, lovely job. Yay. Take care, everybody.